welcome to Wednesday's edition of The Political Voice on VOP TV. I'm Masinachi Okabo, and this is where we discuss the trending political happenings in the country. We also look at trending political stories globally. Well, we have two stories on our radar today. The fact that Tinubu hanging around presidential villa like jobless invalid, who is saying that Dr. Abatai plus Nigeria retrogressed in deplorable state under Tinubu, that is coming from the Labour Party presidential candidate who happens to be Mr. Peter Obi. Well, before we dive into the topic of today, I urge you to go on our YouTube page. Join us on YouTube. We are at VOP TV Live on YouTube. And then on other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. Before I tell you who we have in the studio today, well, let's take a global roundup. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has upheld Julius Abure's position as the chairman of the Labour Party, affirming his leadership amidst a legal dispute. Additionally, the Appellate Court has overturned the decision of the Federal Capital Territory, that's the FCT, High Court, which previously restrained Abure and two others from holding themselves out as national officers of the party. Justice Hama Baraka, delivering the judgment, stated that the High Court had erred in assuming jurisdiction over the matter. Furthermore, the Appellate Court has ordered Lamidi Apapa, the respondent, to pay a cost of 1 million naira in favor of Abure. Last year, Justice Hamza Muazu of the Federal Capital Territory High Court issued an ex parte order directing him and two other national officers to cease representing themselves as party leaders, alleging forgery of national documents. However, the Appellate Court has nullified this ruling. The Appellate Court determined that Abure's appeal was well-founded and thus granted it. The legal conflict between Abure and Apapa over the party's chairmanship has been ongoing since the 2023 presidential election, in which Labour Party's Peter Obi finished third. Moving over to other parts of Africa, Somalia has gained full membership of the East African Community at a brief ceremony held earlier in the week at the EAC headquarters in Arusha, Tanzania. Somalia's Minister of Commerce and Industry, Jubil Abdurrashid Haji, presented the instrument of ratification of the Bloc Secretary General, complementing the admission process. EAC Secretariat Head Peter Mathuki said that the move will enable Somalia to kick off the process of joining EAC's areas of cooperation. The areas include trade, investment, industrial development and free movement of people, labor and services, he added. It is now the eighth member of the bloc, which includes the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, Burundi, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda and Kenya. Somalia is expected to designate a ministry and appoint a minister to coordinate EAC's matters as required by the treaty. Venezuela has accelerated its political timeline by announcing presidential elections set for 28 July, months ahead of schedule. The incumbent President Nicolas Maduro, who has held power for 11 years, is widely anticipated to seek re-election. However, his opponent, Maria Corina Machado, faces disqualification from office due to alleged financial misconduct, an accusation she vehemently denies. Last year, Venezuela's government and opposition reached a consensus to hold elections in 2024, with the invitation extended to international observers. The credibility of previous elections, notably the 2018 polls, where Maduro claimed victory, was widely disputed, with allegations of irregularities casting doubts on their fairness. The National Electoral Council, CNE, of Venezuela announced the election date, confirming 28 July after considering nearly 30 alternative dates. CNE head Elvis Amorso expressed confidence in the electoral process, stating, "We are going to have presidential elections, and I am sure that the people will once again win a great victory. Candidates must register by 25 March. That's by 25th of March, posing a challenge for the posing a challenge for the opposition, particularly in the wake of Machado's disqualification. Despite this setback, Machado remains resolute in her determination to contest the election. In 2023, a bilateral agreement between the government and the opposition laid the groundwork for further elections, aiming for recognition and legitimacy from both sides. Now, we are going to move on to other parts of the show. We have Mr. C.P. Chuksewon, who happens to be the former police CP of Oyo State. Welcome to the show, sir. We have a lot to talk about today. You know, in Nigeria, it's always about politics. Every day in Nigeria, you always have to talk about politics. But we are moving to the fact that in a recent development, Reuben Abatai, former aide to ex-president Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, has voiced criticism against Sheyi Tinubu and Yinka Tinubu, sons of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for their frequent presence at the presidential villa. Abatai referred to their presence as akin to that of jobless invalids during a media appearance on Wednesday. Abatai expressed his disqualification with the situation, questioning the professional endeavors of the president's sons and urging them to establish their own path rather than relying solely on their father's position. Abatai emphasized the need for Sheyi and Yinka Tinubu to pursue meaningful endeavors, highlighting the embarrassment their wives might feel due to their husbands' perceived lack of independence. This critique follows the recent participation of the president's sons, among other dignitaries, in an official trip to Qatar. Like I said before, we have in the studio to dissect the matters of Nigeria, which is always political, Mr. C.P. Chooks, former Oyo State Commissioner of Police. The social media is buzzing. There's a lot of things people are saying. Now, you may recall that this is the same president's son that was said to have taken the presidential jet to go watch a polo game in Kanu. Now, I want to understand what laws of Nigeria allows the president's children as official delegates to state visits. What kind of, we saw when the president of Nigeria was having a handshake with dignitaries, we saw the fact that the Minister of Foreign Affairs and other cabinet members were after the president's children. Now, a lot of people are of the opinion that what protocol does that? Is that not supposed to be an embarrassment for the country at large, seeing that his children are there? Okay, even if his children have to be there, I believe the Minister of Foreign Affairs should possibly come first in the lineup of protocols there, as we saw on TV. What is your take on that?
Well, Reuben Abatai has already analyzed the whole scenario, and I don't fault his observation completely in the way and manner the children of Mr. President were lined up and strategically positioned, you know, in such a way that they had to come before the members of the delegation that went with Mr. President to Qatar. Like Abatai, Reuben, you know, went further to state that he did a training or a course in diplomacy
for 4 years.
For 4 years, and he has never seen a thing like this. It is a total aberration. Because come to think of it, first and foremost, what are the roles of the children of the president? They have no assigned political appointments from the federal government. So they had gone there in their private capacity as children of Mr. President. So one would have expected that having gone there wouldn't have even been need for them to, you know, push aside the protocol and go and be amongst the delegates that had to do a handshake. It sent a lot of wrong signal or wrong message to the diplomatic community and I mean, people all over the world. It looks as if it's an aberration. It looks as if we take a lot of things for granted. And in as much as they are entitled to travel with their father, but they shouldn't have been so glaringly positioned. It was so obvious, as if they were government functionaries who had gone with the commander-in-chief for such a high-level national assignment. Yeah, one would have expected that having gone there, they wouldn't have even come for such a diplomatic, engagement. Maybe they would have been on the background when it is time for possibly interactive session with the business community there. Probably that's where and when they would have shown their face and get involved. It doesn't change anything, but for them to have allowed themselves to position themselves in such a way as if they are now part of the delegation officially, it really spoke volumes, and it wouldn't really have been viewed in the lighter mood by the international diplomatic community.
Okay, I want to take us back to 2015 when the former president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, traveled to the US with his son on an official duty. And then Nigerians, of course, came on social media saying that it was an aberration that the president had to travel with his son to the US. And his Femi Adesina, who happens to be his media publicity person, advisor, said it was not a problem. That Barack Obama also travels with his children on official duties. Do you think that this has become a norm with the Nigerian government? Whenever a president is being in power, we have them have their children by their side. We remember also that a few weeks ago, the president's son, Sheyi Tinubu, and also the daughter came on social media to say, you know what, you guys should take it easy on our father. We know very well that the reason why Nigeria is going through this now is because Nigeria is going to the promised land. So let's take it easy and know that the president has our best interests at heart. So do you think that it's that it should even be at all that the president has his children around, or would you rather say that okay, maybe the reason why they have their children around is because they need the children's advice, they need their children around, coupled with the fact that we know that the president is not that young anymore? Yeah. So what's your take on that generally?
No, the thing is this: there is nothing wrong in the children of the president traveling with him. But what is expected usually is if they get there, they should lie low and not get themselves in the centerpiece of the diplomatic and governmental activities that would have taken the president and his delegation to the place.
Okay.
What is usually expected is for them to be on the background, not necessarily being in the forefront.
If they do not have any official
they have no official role to play. They have no official designation.
Okay.
So for them to accompany their father, okay, it's well and good, but not to be conspicuous and very, very prominent in the lineup of official activities. They can be on the background and follow whatever events that is going on. Then much later, they can go back as a family, because what they have gone there is government business, not family issue, not family business.
Of course.
So they can wait. When daddy comes back, they'll go to daddy's suite. Possibly they may even be in the same suite with daddy. They'll sit down and cross-check all that had taken place. If there are inputs they want to make, okay, all well and fine. But not a situation where they will position themselves as if they are part of the delegation and the thing looks in order. It looks okay for them. It doesn't look pleasant in the eyes of the international diplomatic community. things are not done that way.
All right, moving on, I wanted to also ask this question. Apart from the fact that we have the president's children and all of that, someone mentioned the fact that the office of, if the presidency wants the children to be so into what's happening in government, maybe they should rather have the office of the president's son or the office of the president's children, so that we know that they are a part of the government. And then we know that when they go on official duties, we know very well that, okay, this is for the interest of the country and not going together as a family. Do you subscribe to that as well?
Well, as far as setting up a family to be part of the presidency is concerned, it is inappropriate,
Okay.
it is unlawful, and it is unconstitutional. As we speak, even the so-called office of the First Lady, where is it in the Constitution? It's an aberration. And it is very, very unfortunate that the legislature, which is the National Assembly, lily-livered and spineless set of, parliamentarians, because that is an issue they would have raised from the first day, even if the 8th and 9th Assembly did not take it serious. Now that the realities, the harsh existential economic realities is staring us on the face, this is the time they could have come out. As we are bringing out Orasanya report on cutting cost of governance,
Yeah.
they should have used this opportunity to ask questions. What is the role of the office of the First Lady? It is not there in the Constitution. If it is possible, they should shut that office.
Okay.
That does not stop the wife of the president to still play her role as the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but not to set up full office and have complement of office, finance the office. From which appropriation are they doing that? Is there any provision in the Constitution that allows that? So it is high time we don't turn the truth upside down because we want to please people or because of political consideration. It is time we tell the nation and the global community that we are serious-minded. We need to follow due process and the rule of law and follow the provisions of the Constitution, which is the ground norm. We don't have to be politicizing everything, things you know that are not lawful, because you want to please somebody. You not say the truth. Why are you men if we have to take it up to, if you want to say it the way it is, say it. Nobody is going to cut your neck. You're saying the right thing. If anybody feels aggrieved, let him bring the Constitution and show us the provisions where you have such an office. So if it doesn't exist, it does not exist. And then because they have accommodated and tolerated that, that is why before you know it, one day we have the office of the first son and the office of the first daughter, which is just in line with the question you have just asked.
Yeah.
The thing is not in the Constitution and this is unlawful. It's illegal to have such offices.
You mentioned the Oronsei report, and then we know very well that this report has been ongoing for as much as during the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's administration down to that of Buhari's administration, and now this administration is looking to implement it. And a lot of people have been asking questions and be saying the fact that the report should be looked into. There's some things that should be amended in that report before implementing it. And you mentioned also cutting costs. We know very well that it was mentioned that a lot of people would lose their jobs because, of course, if some parastatals would have to be merged and taken off, people will lose their jobs. What do you think of the Oronsei report?
You see, I have been one of the advocates from the time the president took over power on 29th of May, that they need to go and visit that Oresanya's report, that 800-page document, that it will help us tremendously. and that it will considerably cut the cost of governance. Way, if you're a DG here, DG there, DG, you can't have 3 DGs
Absolutely.
in the new place. So maybe they will look at their profiles, maybe two out of the 3 will be east out. And maybe they may be lucky, political consideration.
Is that not supposed to be, is that actually even right? The fact that we can, of course, have 3 directors, and then because they possibly would not want to be taken off their jobs by giving them political appointments.
Well, they may be lucky. There are some other places where they can fit them in, you know, which is, I mean, places that are constitutionally provided for.
Okay.
Where they feel they can fit in, they can take them to continue their career in those places. Then those who are holding positions purely on political grounds, they can let them go and seek for other areas to continue their you know, whatever endeavor that they want to pursue. Everything mustn't be in government. People should not look at government as a settlement ground, whereby, I mean, if you're displaced here, you must a place will be provided for you in an alternative place. It does not work that way. If it is gone this way, you can come out into the private sector. Obviously, by the time you're holding that position, you must have networked and, I mean, created a lot of I mean, links, contacts, and all that.
Yeah.
So you can definitely fit into the private sector and continue your life from there. You mustn't be looking for that. You mustn't be in the comfort zone, looking for that opportunity of serving from one government department to another government agency. It doesn't function that way.
All right, quickly before we go to the next topic, I want you to tell us, give us insight or what you think about the fact that the Edo State Deputy Governor, Philip Shuaibu, has been served notice of impeachment by 21 members of the House of Assembly. Were you expecting that, seeing what's going on in the Edo State, the elections, the primaries that was conducted, Labour Party, the former NBA chairman emerging the Labour Party candidates, then we have Aswe, Godalo, and that of the APC. Were you expecting that Philip Shuaibu would be served an impeachment notice?
What is happening in Edo is very, very unfortunate. The issue of impeachment is very wrong to come up at this point in time. Impeaching on what basis or on what grounds? The election is not far from now.
It's in September.
Yes, it's in September. It's barely how many months? Less than 6 months or thereabout. So why serving impeachment? What is his offense for him to be served impeachment? Is it an offense that he has expressed his interest to become the governor of the state? The answer is absolutely no. He is eminently qualified to contest for governorship. And come to think of it, they have a perfect understanding whereby they rotate governorship position.
Yeah.
In the first 8 years, that is, I'm talking of 1999 to 2007,
yeah.
Edo South produced Ibenedio Lucky to do 8 years. Thereafter, the thing shifted to the Edo Central, which is the Asian people. Professor Sumbo took it up, but because he did not win the election, Oshiomhole from Edo North got him out after 2 years and did his own 8 years that elapsed in 2016. So more or less, the Edo Central were kind of shortchanged. Now, it came to when Oshiomhole left, Obaseki took over. So the South, the thing now went to the South. In other words, North had done 8.
Yeah.
South had done 8.
8.
South did a second 8 again. Central did only 2 via Professor Sumbo. Yeah. So it is now if we want to follow the course of fairness, equity, and justice, it is time for the central to take it. And I'm sure that's why Abatai, SAN,
Yeah.
is capitalizing on that and coming on the platform of
Labour Party
to see if that will work out for him. All well and good. You see, in politics and in democracy, there should be level playing ground. So nothing stops, whether there is this understanding of shifting from one geopolitical zone
to another.
To another, or senatorial zone to another, does not stop the deputy governor from going to contest. So if he has contested and within their party framework, what happened turned out that they didn't even give him the ticket.
Yeah, well, you know, he mentioned that his people that were meant to vote for him in the primaries were not allowed into the building.
Well, that is part of the politics. You know, politics in Nigeria, you know, as a reference point, and in Africa, is taking very funny dimension, whereby sometimes you have a house, like what we saw in Plateau those days, and even in Anambra, you have a house of maybe 24 members. At the end of the day, they'll say 8 members have impeached the governor. You know, ask me constitutionally, does 8 members constitute 2/3 majority that is required to carry out? You see, they are doing a lot of illegalities, you know, and getting away with it. So if, what's his name again? The deputy governor.
Yeah, Philip Shaibu.
Philip Shaibu was unlucky that they did abracadabra on him. Well, he should take it in good faith that is completely Nigerian factor.
He mentioned he was going to go legal. He was going to file a legal suit against them.
Nothing stops him doing that. But this I'm twisting of bringing in impeachment does not make sense. As far as I am concerned, they are trying to tear down the People's Democratic Party in Edo State. They are withering down their strength by doing things like this and giving chance for the other opposition political parties like Labour and APC to capitalize on it and take over the center stage of Edo governance. But one thing I admire Edo people for is that they have a mind of their own. They do things in such a way that they don't look at political party, they look at the candidates. Because if you're talking of political party, there's no way Shomole could have won election in Edo State with the area he comes from and the population of the people from Edo North. Okay. The dominant population is south. The Beninese. You know, they can always overrun the others. But then, in the interest of peace and harmony and fairness and justice, they keep rotating the thing right around. Yeah. So I don't see anything wrong in the deputy governor. He has not committed any offense coming out to contest. So, well, it has gone the way it did. He has ended up not even getting the flag or the ticket to run on the platform of the People's Democratic Party. So let the sleeping dog lie. Let them leave the man and talk of how to win the election. Let them go back to the drawing board. Whoever they have presented, I think it's Igodalo or so.
Yes, Igodalo.
Let them go and see how they will put their house in order and pursue and see how they can get Igodalo. But they may be taken by surprise that Abatai may come from nowhere because of the independent-mindedness of the Edo people. They may say, look, this man is from Central. We have looked at his profile, his background, and everything. We don't care the party he comes from. That's the man we want. It could come and happen that way. So I won't be surprised if the man pulls everybody by, you know, takes everybody off guard.
The way he did during the NBA elections, even though he was not a son.
Exactly, exactly. It could repeat itself.
All right, okay, no problem. So we're moving over to the next subject of the matter in Political Voice today. Peter Obi, the Labour Party's presidential candidate in the 2023 general election, has expressed deep concern over Nigeria's current state under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, describing it as a retrogressive and deplorable. Obi highlighted the worsening economic conditions, citing rising insecurity and the widespread financial struggles across the nation. He emphasized the urgency for collective action to rescue Nigeria from further decline, urging unity among Nigerians irrespective of tribal, religious or political affiliations. His remarks coincide with the widespread grievances among citizens over escalating inflation and soaring food prices, exacerbated by recent policy decisions such as the removal of fuel subsidies and the transition to a single exchange rate. While President Tinubu's policies have received praise from some experts, including the International Monetary Fund, Obi's critique underscores growing dissatisfaction with the government's handling of economic challenges and security issues. As the nation grapples with these pressing issues, the call for effective leadership and concerted efforts towards national removal recovery becomes increasingly imperative. Now, Mr. Obi has always been the opposition that people have been talking about on social media and everywhere. They have the opinion that, oh, we believe this is what opposition should be. You should, even though you don't get to win the election, you should try as much as possible to put this government under check. Take your, make your government to be responsible. Ask them questions where you don't understand some certain things happening. I want you to tell us the implications of Peter Obi's criticism of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, and how do you think that this affects Nigerians at large? Do you think that the government is actually listening to the criticism of Peter Obi, or do you think that the government, Peter Obi, is just possibly doing the work of an opposition?
Well, you can look at it on two sides, or from two sides, as the case may be. Peter Obi is a formidable voice in the opposition. And if you look at all the areas he has been hammering on, it makes a lot of economic sense. Granted that people will always bring in politics into it. Some will even bring in religion and tribe. But that is not the truth of the matter. The fact remains that Nigeria is more or less at its lowest point as we speak. We have never had it this bad. It is so bad that I pity the working class, especially the people in the lower rungs. Well, I don't want to use the word the wretched of the earth, or people who are on level 01 to 04, who are, you know, placed on minimum wage. How can a man with a family survive with 30,000 a month, you know, as salary, taking cognizance of what is on ground as we speak? Take 30,000 and enter the market and tell me how much items or foodstuff 30,000 can get for you.
People don't add prices to the tags anymore. They don't add prices to
No, the thing can change in a matter of hours. You can buy something now and get to the car and say, ah, no, you didn't get enough. Go and get maybe 2 more to add to what we... When you get there, they'll tell you it has changed. It's no longer the price that you got it earlier. That's what we are seeing these days, and it's very, very unfortunate. Having said that, what Obi is doing is what I should, you know, summarize in few words. It is constructive criticism.
Okay.
He is not making those comments because he hates the man that is sitting as the Commander-in-Chief and President of the Federal Republic. At the same time, he is critical because he could feel the pulse of the vast majority of Nigerians. And he is more or less speaking it's like the mouthpiece, speaking for the vast majority of Nigerians. We have never had it this bad. Let me even draw 2 instances in this conversation. Look at what happened in Abuja within the last 1 week, whereby people went and broke into warehouse.
To that.
you know, because they are hungry.
Yeah.
You know, they are desperate. They need to survive. Under normal circumstance or normal circumstances, is it right for people to break in and what they end up stealing is food? It is, it is hunger. It's a natural reaction. You cannot leave your children in the house and they will be getting bloated tummies, start suffering from kwashiorkor, and you are helpless. You will have to think outside the box of how do I provide food on the table of my family. That's the first law of nature. You have to eat and at least have energy and survive before you think of other luxuries. Because before you even think of shelter or think of clothing and all that, you have to think of how to feed first. See the way it's playing out. That of what happened in Abuja is just one part. Look at what happened in Zaria. A truck driver loaded with noodles, pasta and all that, was working for his employer with an instruction to go and deliver the goods to a certain destination. I don't know whether the destination was Kanu or he was bringing it from Kanu down to Kaduna. But the thing happened in Zaria. The truck was parked. The man came down to go and do Jumat prayers, being a Muslim, with his fellow Muslim faithfuls. And lo and behold, little did he realize that the people he was praying with were all hungry, angry, and desperate. The same people left him while praying to jump onto the truck and empty the truck. And he found himself in such a helpless situation that he couldn't do anything. If he had entered to go and drive off the truck, two things could have happened. They may have either maimed him or they would have just killed him for nothing.
People are hungry and angry.
Yes, that is one. And then maybe in the end, they could have even set the truck ablaze. Those are the possibilities that could have happened. So the man quietly stood one side and watched them till they had finished what they wanted to do. Then he now, went on to inform his employers that look at what happened. And Nigerians saw it because it was awash all over the social media.
Yeah.
People were even using their video and their phone and their tablets to capture the thing, and the thing went viral. So for how long? And these are just two key examples of what happened within the last 1 week or 10 days. We've seen the ones where they blocked vehicles and began to loot yams, loot even livestock. People were carrying goats that are not theirs. Goats people would have paid for in Ibadan, or paid for in Lagos, or paid for in Abeokuta. They waylaid them on the way between the north and southwest and began to steal those animals, And I mean, it has gone beyond expectation. So the question now is, how do we even navigate out of this crisis?
Because even the FCT Minister of State, Maria Mahmood, mentioned the fact that they need to opt their game when it comes to security. But then the question is it really upgrading to make sure that there's enough security in the state? People are hungry. Even the director of the Abuja school mentioned that these people are not criminals. He said these are people that are hungry. And the government needs to do something about the fact that people are angry, people are hungry, people are desperate, people just want to have something to eat. What do you think that the government should actually do at this moment? Because like you mentioned, we've never had it this bad. We have never.
I have been an advocate of government sitting down and setting out its priority. And not only setting out the priority, hit the ground running according to them and do things in the direction. You get a checklist, put priority 1, 2, 3, 4, and say, okay, let's use the first 3 months to do the first one, second 3 months for the second bit. And what am I talking about? priority first should be security. Get all the security agencies, not just going for a talk shop or having conference or having meetings and all that. Get the action on ground. Map out all the arable lands. Profile the security status of those places. If it is the ones you beef up security, put in ground forces in some of them, and then support it with area surveillance. Bring in Air Force, bring in air wing of the police to do aerial surveillance and check areas that are vulnerable to attacks. Be sure you do a general clearance operation of those areas to restore confidence in the farmers. Then by the time you would have actualized that, you can do that clearance operation within 30 days, 6 weeks. You now assure them to move into the farms. You follow it by the second phase. Provide them with seedlings, with the machinery, tractors, fertilizer, and so on and so forth, inputs they need. And encourage them to move into those farms and do massive production. Good enough, with improved seedlings and modern agricultural mechanized methods these days. Within 90 days, between 90 days and 180 days, you are harvesting. You have bumper harvests. And once you flood the market with goods, with foodstuff, the prices will naturally begin to drop. Even though it will not go down to what it used to be, but it will be affordable and people can eat. Because I remember in the good old days, before we even saw this oil era, you know, having oil boom in the early 70s,
Yeah.
the economies of the West, the Western region, the Eastern region, even the Midwest region, which is part of the South-South now, and the Northern region, was purely based on agriculture. Then we used to have granite pyramids in the north, cotton. They used to have bales of cotton, and they were all for export through the rail tracks that bring them to the wharf, to Port Harcourt Wharf and Lagos ports those days. And then the ships are taking them overseas, and they were earning a lot of foreign income or foreign exchange that made the economy boisterous. I'm talking of the north. You come down to the south. West had cocoa going for them. The then Midwestern Nigeria used to have timber, had rubber, and they were producing them in commercial quantity that when you get to the ports was filled with those goods for export. You come down to the east had palm oil. They were exporting palm oil itself, the kernels, you know, in commercial quantity. And that was the era of, do I say, industrial revolution. Getting off the ground before the crisis of 1966 and the subsequent Civil War. And even at that, the foreign exchange or the foreign reserve of the country was much more than enough to sustain the economy. And people were never hungry, those good old days. Yeah. Then talk of now that the oil came, we had the dollar, naira thing. And then what has plundered the country is corruption, because all those people who found themselves in position of leadership were having this grab tendency. You know, they were just grabbing the much they can so that their 10th generation to come will never be poor. It is very unfortunate. That is what has degenerated the country to where we have found ourselves today. So, like I was given the solution, security, massive agriculture. Production. Then when you are now producing, the multiplier effect is that people, the level of consumption and importation of agricultural produce will begin to drop because the alternative is there. You have sufficient food to fall back on domestically. Then when you are talking to the international community and international investors or foreign investors to come, you are now making sense. They will now come in and know that you are now serious. And once they are on ground, you have the economy will now pick up and you will begin to experience some kind of balance of trade, balance of payment, and so on and so forth. But what has really driven us to the lowest ebb is all those loans they had taken both at the federal level and at the subnational, the states. That is what cumulatively took us to almost 89 trillion and still counting. Because there were a lot of aberrations with the ways and means that came almost to 30 trillion naira. We are talking of that. And then servicing of those debts. And we took a lot of loans with a view to be paying with oil. We have mortgaged the oil. That is why a place like Dangote refinery is importing crude. You can imagine you have crude at your backyard, but you can't access it because you're using it to pay off the debts you have already collected. So the question is, all those debts collected, where was it deployed to? That is where they have to put their searchlight and continue to trace anybody that is caught with it, recover as much as you can and return it to the National Treasury. Then we can now talk that we are moving in the positive direction.
Well, a lot of questions to ask our leaders indeed. And thank you so much, CP Chukse. We appreciate you for being on the show today. And that's the size of our package on Political Voice. Do well to join us on YouTube. We are at Voice of the People TV. And then on other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. I'm Masinachi Okafo. Have a good evening.